Alright, now that the steelhead season is upon us, we're going to tie an intruder-styled fly. I'm going to tie my favorite colors, black and blue, and in my opinion, this is the only fly that you really need if you swing flies. I have an 1.5" junction tube that we're going to just burn the tip of it so that the thread, the head of the fly, does not come off. Now that that's done, we're going to slip it onto our vise. We can get it on. Okay. And we'll start to go. I'm going to wind some thread on, and we're going to stop short, approximately 1/4 inch from the head of the fly. Next step, we have to get some good marabou. This, in my opinion, is good marabou. Got the marabou stripped. We're going to tie it in by the butt. We're going to secure it to the tube, and I'm going to wind this. Let me get this bobbin out of the way. We're going to wind this in a conventional fashion. Just pretend that you're winding on the tail of a fly, because this is the tail at this stage of the game anyway. Okay, I like to wet this marabou down so it's not all over the place. I want to fold all of the hackle on this marabou back, all the barbs all back. Try to get about 3 or 4 good turns. 1, 2, 3, and 4 should just about do it. Lock that down with 1 or 2 turns of thread, and bring that tip back forward, pull it back forward, and wrap the thread around about 2 times. Makes it a little sturdier fly. Okay, we're going to put just a few strands of flashabou on this fly and distribute it around the tube. We're eventually going to add some more flashabou to this fly, but I like to put the flashabou on first so that the other flashabou doesn't hold down the marabou. It allows the feathers to the feather rather to move around a little better. Okay, now that we have that done, pull everything to the rear. I want to put a schlappen feather on. I've prepared this schlappen feather. Tie this on. I only want about 2 wraps of this. This is kind of more of a mechanical thing than anything else. It's going to hold the individual strands of marabou apart. It's going to act like fingers. Lock that down. Bring it forward again. 2 turns. Lock it. Let's snip this off. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, either we can put a dubbing ball next, or put a sequin on here. I've been using the sequin for a while. I find that it holds the head of the fly out a little more. I get a little more puffiness to the front of the fly, whereby I get a lot of action. Also, when the water is coming across the fly, it causes all these little fibers really to undulate and move around in the water. And the pressure of this, with the water coming across the head of the fly, fish tend to pick these vibrations up on their lateral line. So it's just something that I've developed. It just makes my life easier. Wind some thread in back of this lead wire we put on it in an effort to lock it in place, and then make a small transition so that we have a transition between the height of the lead and the tube. Okay. Now that that's done, bring the thread towards the rear of the fly, which everybody thought was going to be the head of the fly, but it's not. It's going to be the rear. We're going to bring it within, shall we say, 1/4 of an inch of the end of the tube. A little more, a little less. The next thing we're going to do is put some Flashaboo on this as a body. Alright, it's the blue holographic type of Flashaboo that we're going to use for the body. Secure that to the hook and start to wind it forward. Right to the sequin, and then we're going to come back on itself. So we have a good, secure body. Going to end that off with a few wraps of thread. Bring it forward to lock it in place. Alright, next step after we got that body secured is we're going to tie in another piece of marble. I think we made around 4 or 5 wraps on the head of the fly. We're going to probably try to cut that just about in half, maybe 3 wraps. We want the tail of the fly less sparse than the head, so that when the fly is in the water, it's kind of triangular in shape, as opposed to pulling a paintbrush through the water. So let me secure this. Alright, I'm going to try to get about 2.5, 3 turns on this. About 2.5, 3 wraps. Once again, secure that down with a couple of wraps. Bring the feathers forward. Makes for a sturdier fly. And we clip that tip off. Okay, now that we have that done, I'm going to take a piece of schlappen. Okay, we get this schlappen in there, if it'll cooperate this time. And 1, take 2 wraps of that, pull all that forward, and then we'll tie it off. 2 or 3 wraps is good. Pull this tip forward, tie it off, and finish it off with a whip finish. Pull all this back. Finish it off with a whip finish. I never learned how to use one of those whip finishing tools, but this is a whip finish without the tool. Got that. Snip that off. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a junction tube. It's around 1/4 of an inch, and slip it over the back of this fly, like so. Try to get it over the thread wrappings. Okay. Take the fly off the pin. And we're going to break all these feathers down. We're going to reverse the fly so that all of these feathers are now going towards the rear of the fly. We're going to have a nice fly here. This fly is going to be about, probably 3.5, 4 inches long, but I mean, if you look at it, it weighs hardly anything. There's not too much material here. I mean, this fly is going to, as soon as it hits the water column, this is going to sink down in the water column. And if you want to tie eyes on it, you can tie eyes on it. You put bead chain eyes or conventional eyes, whatever you like. All right, next thing I want to do is put a nice head on this. I normally like to use, well, prior to putting the head on, I'm going to put a few strands of black and blue Flashaboo. Okay. Just got a little bit of thread on this tube. We're up at the head of the fly now. The tail now becomes the head. just a few strands. I don't know, maybe 10, 12 strands. Get a wrap on there. Sometimes this flash gets a little bit unruly on you with the electric charge that develops in it from handling it. I find that if you wet it down, it becomes somewhat more manageable. Okay, now that we got the Flashaboo on the fly, wet that. Got to keep this fly wet. Pull everything back so it's kind of out of your way. In the event it won't stay out of your way for whatever reason, you can always take a small piece of lead wire and just wrap it around it so it holds everything neat. It's towards the rear of the fly. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to tie a head on this fly. I normally like to use schlappen, but since I don't have schlappen, pardon me, not schlappen, but guinea. But since I don't have it, I'm going to take a piece of black and a piece of blue. I love to use a piece of, like I said, guinea with nice blue dots in it, but I don't have any, so I'm going to mix a black and a blue together, schlappen, and we're going to tie this on the head of the fly so we have a nice heavy head that'll push a lot of water and create a vortex. I'm going to try to get about, I don't know, 4 or 5. See how many wraps we can get out here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And one more for good measure. I want that big bulky head. I want that on there to push a lot of water. Get my tackle pliers on this, on both feathers. Pull all that towards the rear. Trying to get it out of the way. One more turner's going to wind it. That'll be fine. Okay, one more wrap. Get it behind there. Okay. Release the hackle pliers, and we're going to pull everything to the rear. Pulling all the material to the rear. And then cut off the tip of that. Okay, we'll whip finish the head of the fly, and that'll be done. A couple of coats of lacquer on the head of that fly. And like I said earlier, this fly doesn't look great in the vise. However, you have to see this in the water. I'll show you how we're going to rig this fly. I have a tighter loop in our monofilament. Normally we'd push this through the fly and it'd be coming out the rear. Tie a loop in the monofilament so that the loop can fit around, push it through the eye of the hook and loop it back over so it kind of looks like this. And what we're going to do is I'm going to put this through the fly from the back side. Normally we'd be doing it from the other side. I'm going to push this through. And just pull it into the junction tube. The knot is going to stop the leader material from being pulled through the fly. And there you have it. We have this hook at the rear of the fly. You're not going to get any short strikes. And once again, you got to see this fly in the water to really appreciate it.